For all OTAs, he'd offer no praise, but then Caleb Williams became a Bear.
Well done. Well done. And I'm paying attention to every morsel of it now and never again. Never.
Well, you don't know. You don't know. You may get the number one again. You never know. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Knicks look tired, the Oilers and Bruins are upset, and Rory McIlroy sets himself up for this week's PGA Championship. But we begin today with the defending champion Denver Nuggets showing what they're made of by beating Minnesota 2 in a row in Minnesota. Yesterday's score was 115-107, and in microcosm, the game may have been won in the last 20 seconds of the first half when Denver scored 8 points in a row, including a heave three by Jamal Murray at the buzzer. Wilbon, where do you see this series now?
With Denver being firmly in control. I don't mean having an advantage. I mean being in control of the series. Of course, games 5 and 7, if that's necessary, would be in Denver, where I know Denver lost the first 2 games of this series, but I ain't betting they would lose 2 more games in the series, Tony. I just don't see that. Look, when they came out for game 3, having been thoroughly just trounced in game 2, they really showed championship mettle starting that night and every moment of the games since. Minnesota, meanwhile, they're not inexperienced at this, but they're not champions. And the only person playing like he's on that trajectory in the last couple of games, particularly last night, is Anthony Edwards. Because there ain't enough help from Karl Anthony Towns. There's not enough help from Naz Reid. There's not enough help from anybody. That ensemble's got to be better. It can't just be Ant-Man out there as a superhero, and they're going to have success against Denver, which is in championship form, particularly their starters. My goodness, they look like they did on the way up to a championship last year, not in those first 2 games in Denver when they got blitzed.
It's an interesting series of comments by you, because I know that going into game 3, you actually felt that Minnesota was going to win that series. And
yes,
it doesn't sound like you feel that right now.
No, I don't.
No. So, I mean, as you know, because we've had this conversation, I am not surprised at any of the scores in games of the series so far. I thought Dallas would be ahead of Oklahoma City. I thought that Boston would bounce back against Cleveland. I thought the Knicks and the Pacers would be tied because the Knicks are running on fumes. And I thought that Minnesota and Denver could be tied, but not this way. Not with road teams winning every single game. I never thought that. I sat here last week and said to you that Denver had to win game 3. That was an absolute must game. Jokic had to win it. They had to win it. And they did win it. And that propelled them, I thought, to winning game 4. And one other thing that propelled them to winning game 4 was that Jamal Murray was not suspended, as most of us think he should have been.
Point.
Adam Silver saved this series for Denver. Adam Silver did that. Yeah, no, I think that's an important thing. And I'm not surprised at them winning 2 games just for this reason, Mike. They are the defending champions. They showed heart last year, and when they needed to have heart, they had it. And I will say that Minnesota, on a big stage, at home, gagged a little bit. They gagged.
Gagged a lot, Tony, and particularly in that game. They don't look like the same team that went from game 2 to 3. And that, to me, still hasn't been explained properly. They get Rudy Gobert, the Defensive Player of the Year, back in the lineup, and they go south again, except for Anthony Edwards. So, they're not ready yet, Tony. They're just not. And Denver is, and Denver's going to put them away. And here I go. The Knicks feel about the state of things with this series heading back to Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, for Game 5.
The Knicks starters should all check into Mount Sinai Hospital on the Upper East Side and request intravenous fluid, not just 1 bag, but 5 bags each, because Tom Thibodeau is going to play them 48 minutes. That's what he's going to do. I mean, let me just check the notes here. Yeah, Game 5 is a must-win for them. It's not a must-win for Indiana. It's a must-win for the Knicks. This series has the feel of a series that Game 5 will be the decisive game. And if the Knicks win Game 5, they have 3 days to rest. Carlisle is no dope. He watched Jalen Brunson torch him in games 1 and 2. So now he's covering Jalen Brunson 94 feet. and he's wearing
Yes.
them out. Jalen Brunson had 10 different front rim shots in games 3 and 4. He had a bad game yesterday. He had 18 points, 6 for 17 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, and he'd been routinely scoring 40 points. I think he was minus 26 when he was out there. DiVincenzo was minus 40 when he was out there. That's a tired team. They got beat up because they can't take that pace right now.
Tony, they were toast. They were going to be toast. I mean, they almost pulled out game 3 miraculously. What an effort. Listen, I don't say this very often, but I admire these Knicks and the way they play, and particularly the 3 players that we talked about, the whole squad, but particularly those 3. But they could not summon that yesterday. And I didn't think in the pregame, and I said publicly on the air that I thought that Indiana would win and win easily because the Knicks would not be able to summon that again. Look, come on now. There's some limits to what the human body can summon. And the Knicks, I thought, had met that limit. Now, I'm with you, Tony. They go back to Madison Square Garden for Game 5. And Madison Square Garden, I mean, I've seen it have, sort of healing prospects on the Knicks in the past. And I've seen it happen. I've sat there at playoff games, and you have too. Alone. The Oilers are down 2 goals. They score a goal with a little more than a minute left after pulling the goaltender. And, you're just thinking, if McDavid gets a shot at this, if he gets a shot on goal, he's going to put it in. We're going to go to overtime, and this is going to be epic. Well, he got the shot. He was wide left, and the Oilers lose that game to go down in this series 2-1. Vancouver's goaltender, Arthur Silovs, the Latvian 23-year-old, he's fabulous. Yeah. Nobody knows him unless you're watching these late games, which I am enthralled with. I'll let you deal with Florida, Boston, but there's a goal in that game that I don't think should have been allowed, which may have changed the outcome. But the Oilers being down in this series and them putting the clamps on McDavid last night, that didn't sit well, Tony. I'm a little surprised at that, and Edmonton's in a hole now.
They didn't just put the clamps on McDavid. When the game ended, one of the guys on the other squad, Carson Soucy,
cross-check in the throat,
takes his stick right in the face. He's got to be suspended, Mike. He's got to be suspended for that. That's a dirty, illegal play. I'll go to Boston now.
He's in the NBA.
Boston's in trouble.
Suspended.
Boston is 0-2 in Boston in this series. Florida beat them last year when Boston was the greatest regular season team of all time. They're not that good this year. They don't win at home against Florida. It feels like Florida is going to beat them again. Right? There's a couple of things that stood out in that. I'll take about 15 seconds here. I think his name is Sam Bennett, right? Sam Bennett from Florida. So in Game 3, it appeared he hit Brad Marchand in the mouth. And there was no penalty called on the spot. No penalty called on the spot. Marchand had to miss Game 4. And meanwhile, Bennett gets the game-tying goal on the controversy that you're talking about when a Bruin player crashes into the Bruin goalie. And you know why he crashes into him? Because Bennett shoves him.
Bennett shoves him.
That's
without
right.
question. So call the penalty, disallow the goal. That's how that has to go. But these 2 series have some juice. I got to get you to stay up late one night. Watch Edmonton, Vancouver.
The Boston Bruins in the last 2 years against Florida at home, they're 1-5 at home.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Coming up, the Atlanta Hawks win the NBA draft lottery. Is that a big deal this year?
Nah. And does Rory McIlroy's win at Quail Hollow set him up to win his first major in 10 years? This guy Silovs is Arturs. I think I Americanized his name, made him Arthur. Artie. Yeah. Why don't we just call him Artie Silovs?
I'm not sure that Boston no longer alternating goalies has worked out. I'm not sure that.
Pardon the interruption is brought to you.
Time to connect with the common folk in mail time. Let me see what's first here. Let me get these out. Here we go. The Atlanta Hawks won the NBA draft lottery. Big deal, little deal, no deal.
Tony, no deal. And it's no deal. Tony, a year ago, I would have answered that question completely differently, of course, with Wembanyama. There's no such player at the top of this draft, So when I say no deal, it may wind up being a big deal. Atlanta moved up from 10th, so it's a big deal to Atlanta, kind of, sort of. But you got to scout and get it right. That's what it's about. Because you can get a guy like, Giannis Antetokounmpo with the 13th or 14th pick in the draft, because that's where he was. You can get Joker now in the second round. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was, 6th or 7th. You don't have to have the top pick in the draft, although you're happy to have it. You don't need that to build a great team. So I feel bad for Detroit. It's a big deal to them. They're the worst team in the league. Again, they dropped from 1 to 5.
2 in a row.
Your Wizards are 2. Maybe one of the French kids will go there. But no, big deal? No, it was irrelevant. The lottery itself, not the draft. The draft is significant. The lottery was irrelevant.
So I disagree. I think it is a big deal because if you're Atlanta and you have your eye on someone, you get that person now. And if you don't have your eye on someone, you can trade the pick for someone you have your eye on. This is a great gift to Atlanta. They didn't expect it because they were 10th, right? We understand that. There's a lot of talk about them trading Trae Young. Maybe this changes that trade. Maybe it compounds the trade. We don't know. I agree with you about Detroit. 2 years in a row in the worst record. And getting 5th 2 years in a row. Whoever they send to the ping pong ball, they got to stop sending that fella. That's not going to work. And by the way, you talk about all these French players. I want to see if they medal in the Olympics. I'm actually interested in that.
I think they're going to medal
in the Olympics.
And by the way, SGA was chosen, I'm told, 11th. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, runner-up for MVP,
Jalen
to an MVP who was chosen in the second round.
33rd. Brunson, 33rd, Mike.
Yeah.
Does Rory McIlroy's win make you think he will break his 10-year drought in the majors this week?
No, not really. I know when he last won at Valhalla, I can't believe it's been 10 years ago, where the PGA will be contested, will be played.
Right.
And Tony, he won that week. It wasn't, Quail Hollow, but he won the week before. And so it sets up nicely, it has a nice little, pattern to it, except, no, it's a different field. He's a different player. He didn't have baggage. When he went to Valhalla 10 years ago, Rory was other than Tiger, it was Rory. Spieth was about to burst on the scene, but it was Rory's deal. And so he's got baggage now. He's got other stuff. He hasn't won in all that time, so I don't think it means anything.
There is symmetry to it. You win the Wells Fargo. The next week you go to Valhalla, you win. There's symmetry if it happens. Did you see him yesterday? You didn't, because you were playing basketball watching. I watched him yesterday. He birdied 8, he birdied 9, he eagled 10. He birdied 13, he birdied 14, he eagled 15. He was -8 in 8 holes. Did you ever do that? Because I've never done that. He was great. He is bringing with him to Valhalla this anger at the other pros who have kept him off the PGA Tour board that he wanted to get back on. He's bringing a hot putter for the first time in a long time, may even be a new putter, and he's bringing the history. He's not going to Augusta where he doesn't win. He's going to Valhalla where he does win. I do like his chances. I like them more than I've liked him in a long time. It's hard to pick a guy to win because 150 people in the tournament, but I like it.
Yes. Tony, the other thing, you know how this happens. We see guys look great on tour 1 week, and the next week they don't even make the cut.
That's right.
I'm not going to.
That's right.
I root for Rory McIlroy. I just like him.
Me too.
I like his positions on things in larger life. I like Rory. I'm rooting for him, and yet, if he's in the top 10, if he's not, I'm not going to be shocked.
Enough email. Let's take one last break, but still to come, the NFL announces who will face the Chiefs in the season opener.
Here we go with the phony excitement over the NFL schedule. And will the Thunder even things up with the Mavs tonight in Big D?
I believe that if they had a show devoted simply to the NFL schedule, it would outrate almost everything, other than the games themselves.
They do.
Brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste.
Happy time, people. Happy 35th birthday, PK Subban. Pernell Carl Sylvester Subban. Drafted by the Canadiens in 2007, played defense for Montreal for 7 seasons. He's on the All-Rookie team, and in 2013 won the Norris Trophy as the best defenseman in the NHL. Subban made 3 All-Star games, played 3 seasons in Nashville, where he was in the Stanley Cup Final in 2017, losing to Pittsburgh. Subban's last 3 seasons were in New Jersey. These honors are not why we are wishing him happy birthday. We are wishing Subban happy birthday because he is a guest on this show and we like him. We especially like the outfits he wears.
Tony, in 2016, on a June day, I was in Montreal when PK Subban was traded. And the outpouring of support and the outright anger of Canadian hockey fans was palpable. And I had not met Subban at that point, but it was his jersey was being flown from cars moving and going down the streets of Montreal. You're like, my God, this guy is heroic here. I never forgot that, how much they love PK Subban in Montreal.
Happy anniversary, Buster Posey. On this day 16 years ago, the Florida State catcher played all 9 positions in the field and hit a grand slam in the Seminoles' 10-0 win over Savannah State. Posey went on to a distinguished career with the San Francisco Giants, where he became only the 2nd player in history, alongside Pete Rose, to win Rookie of the Year, MVP, and 3 World Series championships. Posey's career was cut short by injury, but he will likely be a first-ballot Hall of Famer in 2027. Posey is now part of Giants ownership, on the board of directors, and he is a key advisor to both the chairman and the president of baseball operations.
He is a key member, Tony, of that Northern California community, because you can see him, and I have, tag teaming and supporting Steph Curry in civic and charitable events, big events. And Buster Posey's a big deal and just a pleasant person. Good for him, and I wish him success in this executive role after a Hall of Fame career.
Happy trails to Nelly Korda's winning streak. Korda had won 5 straight tournaments, but finished up the track at 7 under after shooting her 2nd straight 73 at the Cognizant Founders Cup in New Jersey. The winner was Rose Zhang, who finished 24 under, 2 shots ahead of Madeline Sagstrom. Hard to believe someone shot 22 under and did not win. Zhang, who we root for because she won the U.S. Junior Girls at Columbia Country Club, shot 66 yesterday and birdied 4 of the last 5 holes. She's won the Junior, the Women's Am, the Augusta Women's Am, and 2 NCAA championships at Stanford. She's just 20. Last year won her LPGA debut at Liberty National.
Tony, you're right, everything you said about Rose Zhang, but you know I root for Nelly Korda. And I know this Saturday, and I was watching every stroke, that 73 sort of took her out of it. But what a run. And you know what? My bet is she'll start another one. She's that good.
Sure. She is that good. One update, a couple of omissions. Vancouver's Carson Soucy got 1 game for cross-checking Connor McDavid in the throat. The Lions signed Jared Goff to a 4-year extension with $170 million in guarantees.
Wow.
And Iowa's basketball coach Lisa Bluter announced her retirement. Caitlin Clark's gone. She's gone. Let's go to the big finish. The Ravens and the Chiefs will play in the NFL opener. Do you like that?
It's fine. I mean, you'd like to see those 2 play. There's any number of other teams I can see in that opener. We'll get to them. Shohei missed yesterday's game with back tightness. You concerned?
No, not yet. You got to miss a bunch. No, not yet. Yeah. Texas was named the number 1 seed in the NCAA softball tournament over Oklahoma. Does that make sense to you?
Oklahoma beat them in the tournament a few days ago, but they're pick 'em. I mean, they're the top 2 teams, and I hate that my Northwestern Wildcats are in that Texas bracket. Canes, Rangers, Stars, Avalanche tonight. Who you got?
I'm going to take the home teams. I'm going to take the Rangers, and I'm going to take Colorado. But what do I know? Last one, Celtics, Cavs, Thunder, Mavs tonight. Who you got?
The Celtics, absolutely. And Tony, I'm going to take the Thunder in Dallas to even that series, even though Kyrie has been the best player, perhaps, in that series. Even better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Kyrie Irving's been getting it done at both ends.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, Tony, here's SportsCenter. Pacers get that extra day off they don't want.
Congratulations to Rose Zhang.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
Watched her play, so I'd say.